Hey guys, Congrats25 here. I wanted to point something out before this video starts. This initially was planned and conceptualized as me doing the sins for Five Nights at Freddy's 1 through 3 and Trevin Pro either agreeing with me or adding funny commentary, but as it went on, it kind of just became a schizophrenia thing where we both have our own opinions to say. Granted, my sins were all pre-scripted and his were kind of just edited in different ways, but it still ended up turning out very nice. I really do like the way this turned out, and it's honestly one of my favorite projects to date because we were able to get it done. So after how long of us working on this and how much time editing it, enjoy the video. If the ad for the job in the paper states that they're not responsible for injury/dismemberment, maybe you should just not apply.
Plenty of jobs have a injury or dismemberment warning. But a pizza place for kids, no wonder this place was shut down. Those kids can't sign waivers on their own.
I'm not an electrician by any means, but if this building is running on a generator and your fan plus a few lights are enough to kill it within an hour or two, then you need to send that shit back to the manufacturer.
Solid point. Why does it die so fast? It makes a little sense with the "we're too poor, screw you," but it's still the remaining source of power in the building.
Who's calling me at midnight? I know he says these are voicemails, but voicemails usually don't ring prior, so that must mean he's calling me and leaving the voicemail in real time, right? Maybe I'm missing something, but I'm not sure.
The answering machine may be timed, but that begs the question, what if you're just a couple minutes too late?
Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person. Upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced.
Most people tend to skip this just because it's legal blabbering, but he is legit saying that if someone dies, they'll file that they're missing after they clean up the evidence, pretty much.
Disney World.
The animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night.
The internet has ruined this for me.
Oh, please. I made it better. The animatronics do get a bit quirky at night, but so do I.
They used to be allowed to walk around during the day, too. But then there was the bite of 87.
Was that the bite of 87?
And it's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know?
Talking about missing your brain in such a nonchalant way.
We all got brain damage, but that kid's got just a little difference. I don't know. Do we check if it's our fault? No. Is it really our fault? No, someone else shoved him in. We're not reliable for that. We have the big waiver. Did you sign the waiver? It's just not our fault.
I know this doesn't make sense from a gameplay perspective, but from a logic perspective, why would they wander all night? I get it for the first few hours, but if they really want to stuff me in a suit, shouldn't they see me and just hang out at my door for the remainder of my shift? Or am I reaching too far?
The simple answer to this one, in my opinion, is they aren't desperate to get you, which I might say as a joke, but it could be a reason. They don't know you can leave, and they know you come back every night.
So, do they just leave me alone once the clock hits 6 a.m.? Because I'd still have to get past them to leave the building.
Their security's turned on during the day. It's only turned off at night to save money. You don't really see what happens when it's activated, but it's just peaceful. They see you as a guard and not an animatronic, so they don't want to hurt you.
Interestingly enough, Freddy himself doesn't come off stage very often. Freddy becomes a lot more active in the dark, though, so hey, I guess that's one more reason not to run out of power, right?
Wouldn't most of the building lights be off after hours anyway? So Freddy should be active on night 1, but he likes his darkness to be picky, I guess.
This point is actually quite big. It brings up a question from earlier on where we just use a ton of power using the lights. Why is there so many lights on during the night? Granted, you want to be able to see the place as the night guard, but
Most people don't last this long.
That's discouraging.
Things start getting real tonight.
I know he's referring to the game difficulty and Freddy being active, but what could he possibly mean in-game-wise?
he found his stash, forgot he was recording a message. This is why he was fired so promptly.
Wait, I've only been here a week, right? How am I already a valued employee?
I am 90% sure for this part, they don't give a anything about you. They just don't care. They're only saying this to make you feel better and make you work harder.
The game titled Five Nights at Freddy's has both the 6th and 7th night. Debated. Beating the hardest mode in the game gets you fired. Figures.
Again, they are too afraid of Mike now. He's too powerful. He probably killed the animatronics with his mind.
Again, looking at this from a sheer gameplay standpoint, getting less money for fending off even more animatronics is just sinful.
I'm going to have to agree on this point. How are they paying you less if they haven't lost all their money yet?
Why do we only get a small flashlight to illuminate the hallway? Couldn't we at least have gotten one of those motion-activated ceiling lights?
Hear me out. Those, like, dollar store glow-in-the-dark stars. And I don't even think they need motion detecting ones, but at least bright ones in the hallway.
You probably saw this in coming, but how am I able to wind a music box through a camera or tablet screen?
This one is another one I find really simple, but I've also had time to prepare and think about the question. It's probably electronic, whether you can wind it from the office if you're trying to play it for kids, so you can have them listen to the music, or it's just a random thing they have hooked up to electricity because they kind of need it. I don't know, but it's probably electronic. It's a simple answer.
While I'm on the subject, why does the music box even calm the puppet down anyway? It doesn't have the limitations of AI programming because it's basically a spirit, so couldn't it just say, fuck the music box, I'm killing you right now, and be done with it?
Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Home Guy welcomes us to our new summer job, yet the check is dated in November. Again, I know it's pre-recorded, but it's never addressed at any point.
This was probably poor marketing, or they just didn't have any time of the year specials.
There isn't a visible lock or anything on the parts and service door, so what's to stop a kid from wandering in there and seeing an old and rusted Bonnie with no face and giant teeth and getting nightmares from it?
So not only is there a parts and service at the very beginning of this party hallway, but at the end of it, there is a security guard staring down every single one of these party rooms.
Now, I want you to forget anything you may have heard about the old location, you know.
Never mind how suspicious that is. That basically is saying, some shit went down before, forget all that.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're even allowed to tell you that.
Now, from what we know, that should be impossible. That restaurant should be the safest place on Earth.
As smart and as busty as some of them are, I still find it hard to believe that they had the programming required to crawl, let alone through vents. Why can't I wind the music box with the mask on? I can see just fine with it on. And I know in Help Wanted you can kind of fix that issue, but still.
Hey, listen, that one was always a bit twitchy. I'm not sure if the Freddy head trick will work on Foxy.
How did they figure out that Foxy is smart enough to not be fooled by the mask? Did someone die just to test that theory?
This could be tested in the day, as guards are treated differently than animatronics, but only an engineer who worked on Foxy would know.
Should have mentioned this earlier, and it's also strictly just a logic sin, but the distance Foxy leaps in his jumpscare animation would be physically impossible to do.
With his weight, it's definitely true, but Foxy, cool.
Jeremy Fitzgerald comes face to face with withered animatronics literally in front of him and doesn't bat an eye. I understand some people have nerves of steel, but how coincidental could it be that Fazbear Entertainment found multiple people with no fear whatsoever to be guards?
Likely it's human ignorance towards potential danger because of being blissfully unaware that the character did no research.
How is Withered Bonnie crawling through my vent with only one arm?
Good point.
I don't know why they factored the final day into my paycheck if I technically wasn't even allowed in the building, but yay, more money! Once again, my reward for dunking on every animatronic at max difficulty is being fired. And if it's this guy's first day too, then he must be a god.
He was fired for being too good.
Okay, something I need to clarify is that this game takes place in 2023, a full 30 years after Five Nights at Freddy's 1's 1992/3. which means at some point around FNAF 1 is when William Afton got locked in the safe room, but from the game's standpoint, this is kind of just glossed over and not really elaborated on much.
Well, with several locations, it was probably a long time of minor exhibits, and making a sequel would admittedly take a long time.
Why have kids' drawings in the office if the patrons are meant to walk past the office and they won't see them anyway?
I think the office may be part of the exhibit, although I'm not entirely sure. Also, they probably just put them there for storage otherwise.
Also, I don't know how resilient paper is, but surviving 3 whole decades seems a bit fishy.
Paper will survive many decades, but should tint yellow, which some does, but not many.
Hey, glad you came back for another night. I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time.
So later we hear old training tapes for how to use the spring locks, but is this phone guy new?
It's actually quite possible.
I guess playing audio through a loudspeaker isn't too far-fetched, but this device we're viewing the cameras on doesn't seem too advanced, and definitely not advanced enough to be wall-mounted in this manner. This sin is just for Springtrap, but it's always bugged me. He's in a robot suit, but he's still technically just a human. Sure, later on he's resurrected and shit, but in this game he's just a guy in a suit. It's practically a 1v1 in the worst case scenario, so why not knock him the fuck out and finish your shift? He always comes back anyway.
I like the concept of just murdering him at 11:59 and by morning he's alive again so you don't get in trouble.
Is it ever mentioned how William Afton was able to rip apart metal robots bigger than most people with his bare hands?
Dude's built different, spent 30 years alone with protein dust and workouts.
Also, why do I still see the phantoms even if my ventilation is working fine?
Too close, or maybe they just work in your head.
If William's arms and legs have been rusted to the suit, how does he have the mobility required to vent? Or even walk?
That's stupid, I agree. It likely gripped to his bones, but nothing should move, especially when he lost most of his weight.
In case that the spring locks come loose while you're wearing a suit, please try to maneuver away from populated areas before bleeding out.
Phone guy literally just said, if you activate this shit and start bleeding, get away from the kids and die somewhere else. No filter or anything.
Again, literally Disney World.
I won't even talk about the steps to get the good ending, but for these kids, there's no real good ending, is there? Okay, so a fire is what causes this place to get destroyed. By Michael Afton, no less. But regardless, how the hell does Springtrap survive it? He didn't use some trick to escape, he was in the flames.
Again, he's technically dead. He doesn't need oxygen. But he's also in a damp suit.
You know, with the pattern that these games have started, I almost expected my burned corpse to get a pink slip after beating Nightmare Mode.
And thank you for letting me come on and kind of argue with you. It was fun and nice to be able to do some voices and just get this little project done. I really enjoyed it, although I hated how many questions were only in FNAF 2. Holy God. Again, thank you for letting me on, and hope everyone has a good day.